and welcome to our virtual tour of the Institute for Wellbeing here at Towson University. My name is Rebecca, and I'm the graduate assistant to the graduate program director for Audiology.
And I'm Kayla. I am the graduate assistant to the clinical director of Audiology at Towson.
And my name is Katie. I am the first year graduate assistant to the clinic director at Towson.
Here we house the Hearing and Balance Center, Occupational Therapy, Speech Language Pathology, and the Hussman Center for Adults with Autism. Today we're going to show you our clinical space for audiology, our classrooms, and our COVID-19 protocols.
Okay, so as our patients enter, they are greeted by the Proceed with Care signs. Moving forward, we have our Clean and Care table, and this has hand sanitizer and wipes. And then here we have Noemi. She is our billing coordinator. She is part of the business office staff, and she greets with a friendly face for all of our patients and helps with check-in and check-out and payment. And here is the waiting area. Typically there would be a lot of chairs. However, due to COVID-19, we have removed most of that, and we are meeting our patients either on the third floor or in the garage.
Next to our lobby on the second floor is one of our classroom spaces. There are a couple classrooms in this building. Due to our COVID-19 precautions, we only have one chair at each desk, and the desks are 6 feet apart. If it wasn't the coronavirus pandemic right now, the classes would be more of a conference style or U-shaped for better discussions.
So this is our large classroom space on the second floor. Here there's plenty of room to spread out and practice any lab assignments. So this semester my first year cohort and I had our diagnostics lab in this space. We learned how to perform otoscopy as well as ear mold impressions, which we did on 3D printed ears to avoid close contact with each other. Outside of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have previously held bloodborne pathogen training, HIPAA trainings, diversity and inclusion seminars, as well as program holiday parties.
In this space, as you can tell, we have large tables, which would usually have a lot of chairs. There's also room for double projectors, and there's 2 large whiteboards.
So here we have the Hussman Center for Adults with Autism. And over here we have the apartment. And so in this apartment, you can see there's a kitchen. And so this helps with learning life skills. So learning how to cook and clean and work together. Here we have a table where they can share meals together. And then a lounge area. So here we've just walked off the elevator, and at each elevator stop there is a hand sanitizing station. And if you walk over here, the Institute for Wellbeing is a very secure building. So in order to get off the elevator or the stairwell at every point, you do have to have a swipe card, which you will be issued during your first semester here. And you can swipe your card and it will unlock the door for you.
So this is one of the primary classroom spaces on the 4th floor. Typically this room would fit your entire cohort and you'd have a lot of classes here. Right now you can see that the desks are spread apart for social distancing. And a beautiful part to this room is the skyline behind us of Towson Town Center.
So here we have our lockers, and these are accessible to students who need to have a place to put their stuff while they're here, maybe seeing patients or in class or doing graduate assistant work. So all you have to do is bring your own lock, and you may have to share a locker, but it is spacious enough to have your stuff and someone else's stuff in it.
Here's one of our student workspaces. Oftentimes the speech language pathology students will be here due to all the equipment they have to work with their little kiddos. We also have other storage closets with more play equipment to work with different patients of all ages.
Over here we have our client file drop-off box. So if you are working on a patient file or maybe a patient report after the business office closes and you can't bring that file back down to be secure, you can actually pop it in here, rubber banded, and stick it in here, and the business office will come back and unlock it and grab it when they are back. And here we have our student mailboxes. So on this side is the speech students, and then on this side we have audiology. As you can see, a lot of students are keeping their face shields in their mailbox, and this is something that you will get after your first semester here for when you start your on-campus clinic placements. Some of the items that you might get in your mailbox are possibly an evaluation from your supervisor, which may look like a yellow copy of paper. We've also gotten demo aids, which we created our second semester of our first year, and those were placed in our mailbox once they were ordered from Resound. We also have done ear mold impressions, and we got our own custom ear molds made that were placed in our mailbox. And lastly, you may get just any information or paperwork from a supervisor or faculty member. Currently, we are in the 4th floor student computer lab. Here we have a lovely smart board where you can write on it electronically with the markers, and there are usually presentations. So previously we did have our electronic medical records training here called Practice Perfect, and so we all were able to spread out in the computers and learn how to use this technology. Over here we have the computers, and so as you can see, they are spread out for social distancing, and also these computers are great for doing homework before classes or in between classes, working on patient reports, and also working on various projects and presentations such as thesis.
Welcome to our second student workspace on the 4th floor. Here you can either do some homework, hang out with a friend before you're waiting for your class, or my second year cohort always enjoyed having lunch as a group here. Also in this space, we have our WEPA printer. Here at Towson, these WEPA printers are all along campus, and this is where it is housed in this building. You can print all of your class materials, any other printing that you need. You can also either email it or use a USB. It accepts your Towson One card and other forms of debit and credit cards.
Here we are on the 4th floor in our kitchenette. So this is where faculty, staff, and students can store their lunch, maybe get some coffee with the Keurig over here, and they can even store like drinks and things. So here's the fridge, and so you can store your lunch. You can also heat up any lunch or dinner. Sometimes we had late classes last semester that we would heat up our dinner during our breaks. And also there is usually some supplies up in the cabinets like plates, napkins, forks, and cups.
So these are some of our faculty offices. So in non-COVID times, students could come for office hours in these spaces. Right now, a lot of our faculty are working remotely. But behind me are the faculty mailboxes. So if you ever have anything you need to give to your professor and they're not in their office, you can leave it for them here in their mailbox. Any confidential mail, like patient audiograms or private information, you would not put in these mailboxes, but rather the mailboxes behind the business office, just because it's a more secure space.
Hey guys, so as you can see, we have several cubicle spaces for graduate assistants. So the first 2 cubicles you saw were for the OT and SLP graduate assistants, and here is the Audiology graduate assistant desk, and it is right across from Dr. Kozlowski's office, who is our clinical director. Alright, so here we're on our 3rd floor of the IWB, and this is our balance and vestibular assessment room. So here we have our rotary chair, and this is where we can perform different types of vestibular and balance assessments for our patients.
Here is one of the 4 testing booths that we have in this building. This is our tympanometry equipment. In here we have the audiometer for the student clinician side. Oops, I don't know why it's blurry. There's a seat for the student, a seat for the supervisor. We have a speech hoop for when we do monitor live voice speech testing, and a CD player for when we want to do recorded voice testing. And that's the patient side, which we will go to now. So we have a double door, soundproof room with the seat for the patient, headphones, earphones, various transducers, and our OAE equipment. Here we have another one of our booths. This one's a little bit more unique. We have our tympanometry screener compared to our diagnostic tip machine that we saw in the other room. And here we have a different audiometer. This is called the Astera. It works on the computer. This is great, so you have an opportunity to try different audiometers before you go off campus. So on our clinician side, we have two of our students, and they are going to show us how the VRA equipment works for when we test kiddos. And we have VRA in two of our booths. Now we are in one of our other booths. This one is pretty identical to booth B that we saw. One great thing about this booth is that we have our hearing conservation program audiometer, so we can test our Towson employees who are exposed to loud noises. That would include our groundskeepers, our police. This is our last booth, and here we have our electrophysiology equipment. So here we have some electrodes that are clean and drying, and our ABR equipment, as well as a really comfy chair. So when we do ABRs on our patients, they have the comfort to fall asleep during testing if they would like. And here is our PPE storage room. This is where you would port if you had any symptoms of the coronavirus. You would take your temperature with the temperature gun. We have see-through masks for our speech pathology students because it's very important to see how your lips move during speech therapy. Gloves, which we also have in our hearing aid room, and disposable surgical masks and face shields. We also have our red bin, so we can dispose of our items in a secure way to avoid any cross-contamination. Whenever we're in close contact with our patients, we use a face shield in order to better protect our more vulnerable patients.
So this is our third hearing aid room on the third floor. As you can see, it's a little bit larger for better accessibility. It has more space for any guests of patients, and we use this room for hearing aid fitting and troubleshooting. So any problems that we need to fix with the hearing aid or adjustments we need to make, we can do that here.
Here we have a larger form of our hearing aid modification equipment, and in all of these drawers are little old hearing aids so you can practice modifications. Now we're entering one of our hearing aid rooms. It's a secure room because we have patient hearing aids in here, so it's secure with this lock. In here we have all the equipment we would need to help modify our hearing aids and different tools in all of these cabinets. In here we have some of our Lash hearing aids. These are for some of our low-income patients. They were donated to us so we can provide hearing aids at a very low cost. And then over here we have Kayla. She is modifying a hearing aid. This is our dummy ear, Carl. Oh, his head's a little, there we go. As you can see, these are fake silicone ears that really resemble a regular ear canal. And so this is some of our equipment to do sermon management. And here we have our ear mold equipment, so we can make ear mold impressions without a supervisor present. Right here we have Katie. She is vacuuming the microphone ports of the hearing aid to get rid of any debris. We have a sink and sterilization equipment, as well as equipment to change anything in any of our patients' hearing aids. Yes, perfect. Thank you, Katie. And this is another one of our hearing aid booths. So we can meet with our patients. And I'll show you a booth over here with one of our students who is fitting a hearing aid.
In this room we have Emma. She has the VeriFit box all set up to fit the hearing aid. And she has a computer set up so she can add gain in the frequencies that she needs.
All right, so this concludes our tour. Thank you so much for joining us at the Institute for Wellbeing. We hope to see you in your future at Towson University.